Hey guys, this is the engine out of my 1953 Ford F100. Unfortunately, after I got it ripped down to this point, I found we had the crack of death. We've got a crack that extends from the cylinder down into the port. Matter of fact, there's two cracks right through the exhaust seat. There are people that repair these, but it's not advisable to put that much effort into a block that may or may not stand the test of time. I have a couple of other 8BA or similar engines out in my storage shelter. Let's get them dug out and see if we can get them in and take a look. Maybe we've got a viable block. It's a real shame that this block is cracked. You know, it's got some pitting and whatnot, but that would clean up. The cylinders need to be overboard, but they're only at 20 thou. The crankshaft's in really nice shape. The cam is decent, but there's no way to get it out of there with the stuck valves. You know, the valves could be fixed. I'm not too concerned about that. We can get those out, but there's just no point in proceeding with a cracked block. But if we've got a viable block out back, I think we can take a lot of the good rotating parts out of this engine and add them to that other block. Maybe get a decent engine out of the whole thing. I'm going to have to do a little bit of digging to get at the side of the shelter where the engine is. Let me go fire up the mini excavator and we'll see if we can move a little bit of snow and ice out of the way. The reason we're digging here is that inside the tent, right underneath where I've been scraping away, is where at least one of the blocks is located. The other one is over 3 or 4 feet. But we can probably get at it if we can peel this tarp back a little bit. As you can see, I had some issues with my tent shelters over the winter and had to put a temporary tarp over top, but no major damage other than the ground is a little bit wet because of the water's not running off. That's something we can address this coming summer. For now, let me go dig with that shovel that somebody conveniently left laying right there. See if we can get a little bit more snow away from the side of this building. Well, the good news is I don't think we hurt anything. The bad news is we're still frozen in. I'm gonna go with that. Go with that with the ice chipper. Now that we've got some of it busted out of there with the excavator, maybe I can peel the rest of it back so that we can get this open. What we've basically got to do is get from this pipe to this pipe so that we can fold it back out of the way. And right about there, I believe, there's an engine sitting we got to get at. Well, let me see what kind of progress I can make on this. I'll bring you back when we have some kind of plan. I win. Got that all chipped loose. Did a little bit of damage to the tarp, but not enough to worry about. The problem is that the engine that's sitting right here is a 59 AB, which is a 41 to 48, I think, vintage. Too old, a little different setup than what we're looking for. But right here is an 8BA. So if I can get the tarp to fold back, then we can grab the 8BA and wrestle it over onto the pallet here, hoist it out. Let me get some stuff moved around inside and then we'll come back to this. Here are the two engines that we've got to move, and I don't know how well it shows up because of the backlighting, but here's the seam to the outside world. This is the panel that we're going to fold back, and here is the 8BA, or as it says on there, EAB on the head. The EAB means that it's a 52 or newer flathead, which works well with a 53 Ford. EAB is what is on the heads that are in the or that came out of the truck. This thing has an aluminum intake on it. A little worse for wear, but might clean up. I've also got another aluminum intake in the garage that we can clean up. This one almost looks like it might be in a little bit nicer condition. This engine's kind of interesting though. This is a, as I say, 41 to 48 or 41 to 47. It's a 59 AB, and you can tell, I don't know whether you can see it or not, but there's a 59 cast onto the engine block, and also this has an integral bell housing built into the block as well, as opposed to an external bell housing like that one. But I've given this a quick looking over as I was moving it out of the way a little bit, and I don't see a crack of death on it. I don't see any cracks running from the cylinders into the valve seats, and I don't see any cracks running along the bottom lip here, where if you get water down in the cooling jackets and it freezes, it tends to bust the bottom of the block out. So I don't have any of that. It's rusty because it sat in the back of the truck for 20 plus years, exposed to the wonderful weather that we have around here. But dang, that thing might clean up. I do have the main bearing caps, and I do have the crankshaft. So, you know, that could be an interesting engine just to get it up and running. I do have a bunch of other 59 AB parts as well. So maybe we'll have to get a vehicle that's 41 to 47. Anyways, I think our next step is to peel this tent back. I've got a couple of bolts I'm going to take out down there, and then undo that ratchet strap, and I think we can fold this flap back out of the way. I'm going to drag this out of here just to get it out of the way. We'll pull this over and out, and then I guess we'll put this one back because I'm not going to be doing anything with it right away. But I think we're going to be seeing it again on the channel. That thing has some gravity to it. Let me get the tent put back together, and we'll haul this thing back to the garage. Filters back together. I need these back on the pallet. Let's pick this thing up and get it in the garage. Well guys, it is in the garage. It is laying on its side, obviously. We've got to get it up on an engine stand so we can start looking at it to see whether it's going to be usable or not. But that is going to be for tomorrow. I got some stuff to do the rest of the afternoon here. The tax man calls, and we'll come back to this tomorrow evening and see how it looks. It is the next night. We are in the garage. Lighting kind of sucks in this corner, but we'll make do for the time being. I'm going to guess this is out of a car. Doing a little bit of sleuthing, I think we've got an idea what we've got here. It's an EAB on the heads, which means they're high compression heads, so they're or higher compression heads. They're still only like 8-to-1 compression or something like that. But that means that is the higher compression model has a puts out 110 horse in its original form. We've also got a center pickup oil pan, meaning we've got the pickup is in the middle, down at the back, which is not what would have come on the truck. The truck is a rear sump oil pan. I don't know that it necessarily makes a whole lot of difference, but you know, as long as it's got a good block, we should be able to combine the parts to make it into something that's going to work. I'm going to bring the engine hoist up here, get this thing kind of sort of sitting upright, move it back underneath the lights instead of in this dark and dingy corner that we're in, and then we'll start ripping some stuff off and see what we've got to work with. I think we've got it to the point where I can set it down on this tire and start stripping some parts off it to see what we have to work with. As you can see, we've got an aluminum intake. Unfortunately, it's a little damaged here. I might take that to the local machine shop and see if they can build it back up and give me something to work with. We'll see about that. This is the riser for the fuel pump, and the fact that it's broken isn't a big deal. I've got one that I ordered in off eBay, and I've got one on an aluminum intake that I have sitting on the shelf. So, you know, it's not the end of the world that this intake is damaged. But something interesting, this kind of seafoam green color that we're seeing on the paint, and the remnants of it. I don't know how well it's showing up on the camera. A little light on the subject. Doesn't really show up all that well, I guess. But anyways, that kind of struck me as a little odd. I would expect to see these red, or I've seen these Flatheads gold as well. But I don't think I've ever seen one that was green. But something that I did notice here is made in Canada. It says on both of these heads. That's interesting. This is a Canadian engine. Now, given that I live in a border community, it's not completely unheard of that this could have been born in a Canadian car, lived in Canada for a few years, and then eventually been sold into the US. And that's where this engine basically ended its life in its original car. Or who knows? The guy that owned the junkyard, it was definitely in the US, but he was Canadian, so hard to say what the story is behind this, why it is a Canadian engine that was purchased in the US. But that's where it's at. Let me drop it down here on the tire and we'll start buzzing some stuff off. But just as a little bit of a preview, I looked down the hole here, and I don't know whether you guys can see that or not, but I'm not seeing huge amounts of rust down there. I am seeing, you know, some dampness of oil, that kind of thing. It is coked up with sludge pretty good, but I think we might not be in that bad a shape, at least in the core of the engine, for moisture damage. But let's see what the top end looks like. Let me get us sit down, we'll grab some tools, we'll start taking some stuff apart here, and we'll see where we get to. What do you figure, guys? What do you think we got here? Is it seized? Is it not seized? Is it cracked? I don't know. I'll almost guarantee you it's seized. Haven't even tried that. But what do you figure? Are we going to be completely full of water and everything's going to be broken inside? Or is this going to be a viable engine or not? That's the question. Stop the video right now. Leave me a comment down below. Is this going to be a viable block? Well, let's see. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, but you guys leave a comment and we'll figure it out together. Not seeing any rust. That's too bad in this part. Non-adjustable lifters. Definitely can see water's been down the intake. But this engine's been turned since it was parked, I think. If you look in there, you can see a little bit of rust. If you look on that valve stem, you can see a little bit of rust where it's not coked up. I'm going to grab a bar and put it on the crankshaft and see if this thing moves. We're not going to be able to put a whole lot of pressure on this because it's just kind of sitting there rocking on a tire. But let's see what happens. Nope, it is seized. But whether it's seized real bad, like the other engine was, or just a little stuck, makes a big difference. Next step, I think we're going to pop those heads off. We'll start on this side, since that's where you guys are set up, and we'll see what we get to. That is certainly crusty. Not a good sign when the top of the piston sticks to the cylinder head. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna grab the vacuum some of this up, and then we'll take a look in the by the valves here and see if we can see any cracks of death. So far, what I'm seeing here, and while it's not great, it's not exactly ruling this engine out. We'll see. Well guys, there's certainly a lot more cleaning up that needs to happen here, but I don't know, I'm not seeing any obvious cracking between the cylinder and the valve. You know, there's a bunch of pitting there, but if we get this block relieved a little bit, all that pitting will be gone. The cylinders are definitely yuck. The water jackets are yuck. This engine is definitely showing its miles, or definitely showing its sitting around age, I guess would be a better way to put it. I'm going to get you guys set up on the other side. We'll get that cylinder head off and we'll take a look and see what we got to work with. I've got most of these head bolts removed. Several of them at the back here were completely missing. But we got a pencil heater in this thing. This is a block heater that extends down into the water jacket. And it will definitely prevent the head from coming off. We get some schmoo on there. Yeah, it is tight, and I'm sure these were just fine when they were new. But 70 years later, not so good. Since that's not going to be reused, I think I'm going to go grab a grinder. We'll just buzz that off and take it out with the breaker bar, just like all of the other head bolts. I'll bring you back when I'm ready to crack the head off this thing. Well, all the head bolts are out. I don't know if this is going to fight us or not. That's still threaded into the block. We might have to try vice grips on that, see if we can back it out, or we might be able to slide that off. One other thing that we need to do, can't forget to do, is take the hold down clamp for the distributor. And I guess we got to try and get the distributor out of there because the head goes underneath. And unfortunately, this distributor is seen better days. appears to have gotten whacked. But I'd prefer not to break it, because there's probably a whole bunch of parts here that we can use to rebuild another distributor. And definitely not wanting to come out of there. Well, let's see if we can get this off of here without having to dig into any of that stuff. Ooh. I'm going to say we're hung up on some valves. Almost there. Oh, there we go. This side definitely looks better than the other side did. Not anywhere near being able to run, but certainly not as much scum. Well, let's hit it with the drill and see what happens. I am not seeing any cracks there. This side is certainly in much better shape than the other side. A little bit of liquid here though. Not impressive, but that's okay. As long as we're not cracked. I'm going to take a little bit of time and do some cleanup on this thing. And I'm not going to record all that because we've already recorded a whole bunch of cleaning. Kind of neat though. I'm thinking that this is really really interesting to see that this is a Canadian engine. Maybe I'm just being a bit of a patriotic geek because of everything that's going on in the world right now, but I think that's pretty cool. And talking to my father, I guess there was a cousin or an uncle or something a couple times removed that worked at the Ford assembly plant back in the day down in Windsor, Ontario, when this engine would have been made. Maybe he did the assembly on it. That'd be kind of neat. No way to tell at this point, but I think that's still kind of cool. Let me get some cleanup done, and I'll bring you guys back when I've made some more progress. A bit of an update with the cleaning. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but I can kind of see the machining ridges, circular machining ridges on the top of these two pistons. And I'm not seeing any stamps for an oversize. It is entirely possible that this could be a stock engine. I ran the bar over the valves. I think there's one valve that's not stuck. The cylinders are in much worse shape on this block than they were on the other one, but if we're, as I suspect, at a stock bore, that is great news. Although there is a ring ridge there. I feel a ridge. I'm still not seeing anything that looks like a crack. This side of the engine is actually really looking in good shape. Like, look around the seats of the valves, there's no indication of serious pitting. The other side is pretty pitted. But I think what we're going to end up doing here anyways is when they're doing the machine work on the engine, we'll just get a little bit taken out in this area. It helps the engine breathe better because the air has to come in, change direction and come out, and then change direction and go back in. It's not the most efficient. So if you give a little bit of relief here, you tend to get a little bit better performance out of it. So much so that even some of the heavier duty truck blocks were relieved in the valve area right from the factory. Absolutely, over on this side, we're Definitely finding some grunge. This is the worst of the two sides for sure. This piston's almost like the consistency of soapstone. I think we could probably scrape most of it out of there. The valves were cleaned up, you know, on the back side or on their faces reasonably well. I have no idea what the underside is going to be like, how that'll clean up. They may be complete junk. But they all say C1BA Ford CAN on them. That's kind of neat. I think we're going to end this video here. It's starting to get a little bit long. Check back in the next video. We'll get this thing up on an engine stand, get it rolled over, check out the bottom end, see if it's in as good a shape as the top end is. And hopefully we'll have ourselves a viable engine. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. If you got this far, can you give me one of those thumb up things? Give me a like. Consider subscribing if you want to see more content from Doug's Messy Garage. And maybe ring that bell icon. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next mess.